Cheers! Today we were drinking a Malibu pear. It's very delicious. One of my favorites. How did the inhabitants of the hot Iranian desert keep themselves cool during the intensely hot summers, where even being in the shade is very uncomfortable? Well, besides the wind catchers that they had in their homes that we spoke about a while ago. Think about being in the middle of a hot, dry desert. It would be a blessing to be able to drink a cold beverage, or to eat some ice cream to cool off, or to keep your meat, dairy, fruits and other foods fresh for longer periods of time by cooling them. But I'm hearing you ask yourselves, ice? How would you be able to provide ice in the middle of a hot and dry desert? The answer to that is simple, yet innovative. Build a yakchal. No, I did not sneeze. I said yakchal. A yakchal is an ancient Persian invention that literally means ice pit. Yak meaning ice and chal meaning pit. My name is Kaylee and today we're going to look into the Persian invention of ice houses in the middle of the hot Iranian desert. I do want to note that in the southern parts of Iran, where the temperature rarely gets below zero, there were no ice houses, and along the Caspian shores there were never ice houses as well. The climatic conditions didn't lend themselves for ice to form nearby, therefore ice houses were not an option there. For this particular video, we're going to focus on Yazd again, which we covered in the ancient air conditioning video. We're going to look into this type of architecture, the materials used here, and how these ice houses work. There are many forms of ice houses found in Iran and other parts of the world. I might look into the different architectural styles in a separate future video, but for this particular one, we will focus mostly on the yakchals from the area of Yazd. We don't know for sure where the first ice houses were built on the planet, and we're also not sure of when the first ice houses were built. We do know that around 400 BCE, the Persian engineers were already mastering the art of storing ice in the middle of the desert. It was already a widespread phenomenon around this time. This shows that the actual invention of the yakchal happened much earlier, as you don't master something by doing it for a short amount of time, but it's unfortunately unclear for how long. The practice of storing ice itself was already long established by the time of 400 BCE. We know for a fact that the Mongols were already storing ice for quite some time, although again, it's unclear for how long, but there are accounts of them doing it before 400 BCE. Ice was also mentioned in older texts in Iran from before 400 BCE, but there was no mention of how it was produced, which doesn't allow scholars to interpret that as yakchals already being used for very long before 400 BCE. Although it is of course hypothesized, as I said earlier, you don't master something by doing it for a short amount of time. There's always a difference in evidence pointing to something which leads to a hypothesis that may or may not be proven to be true. But this same evidence should not allow to be interpreted as anything factual without the proper investigation and corroborating evidence pointing to said interpretation. This is, to me personally, my favorite type of historic investigations. I love hypothesizing and theorizing a lot, but you will never hear me say that I know the answer or that I'm certain beyond a reason of doubt, because there will always be doubt until proven otherwise. In the traditional architecture of the Persians in Iran, it was incredibly important to them to create safe living conditions for the inhabitants. The climate in this part of the world can be absolutely brutal. We've seen with the wind catchers they were great engineers with a lot of skills, and they knew how to survive the climatic conditions. So let's take a look into what materials the Persians used to create these yakchals. The walls of the yakchal are made from a special kind of mortar called saroush. This special mortar is made from sand, clay, egg white, lime, goat hair and ash. The ash actually acts as an insulator. These walls can be as thick as 2 meters. This makes the temperatures inside stay as low as possible. You can see a large dome shape above the ground, but this is only part of the Yakchal. The rest of it is underground, where a storage space is located. This storage space is mostly used for ice and sometimes used to store food, although food really isn't stored in it often. The Yakchal has a shading wall running east to west and a kanat that runs all the way from the mountains to the north side of the wall in the shade. As I explained in my ancient air conditioning video, a kanat is an underground aqueduct which transports water to the surface. In the case of these Yakchals, it transports water from the mountains to the Yakchals. In the winter, a few inches of water is then collected in a pool each day that by morning will be frozen due to the cold night temperatures. The villagers break the ice in the morning and bring it inside the Yakchal to store it. This is repeated each day during the short winter time until the Yakchals are full. Another way to fill the Yakchals with ice was to collect the ice straight from the shaded parts of the mountain, transport it to the Yakchals and store it inside. The ice stored inside could be kept cold throughout the year. Even in the hottest summer days, it would still be incredibly cold inside the Yakchal. The combination of the thick walls, the cool waters that ran down its side, and sometimes the combination with wind catchers and wind towers kept the stored ice frozen throughout the entire summer. Inside at the bottom of the Yakchal would be a trench. This is where the melted ice would be caught, and during the cold desert nights it would freeze again. A Yakchal usually had 2 entrances. One was located between the pitfall and the frozen area on the north side with a sloped surface, making it easy to transport the ice into the Yakchal. This northern entrance was almost exclusively used in winters to fill the ice house. The other entrance was at the south side and was almost exclusively used in the summers. It had a staircase leading down into the Yakchal, making it easy to access the lowest parts of the pit and to serve and sell ice. During the hot summer days, the ice from the Yakchals would be used to chill food and treats, like for instance a traditional frozen Persian dessert known as falude. These ice houses weren't just for the upper class, but most of them were actually public. Everyone was able to use them during the hot summer days. Shops in villages would use the ice from the Yakchals to keep their fruits and sherbets cold, and huge chunks of ice would be transported by donkey and sold in the province. We know of Yakchals still being in use in the 1960s, but unfortunately since then they've all fallen out of use. A true shame that when industrialization became widespread in the area, and people getting common refrigerators at home, these Yakchals became an abandoned eyesore to many. The ice from a Yakchal wasn't as clean as the modern techniques. The ice was often tainted with dust and soil because it was created in open areas in the middle of a desert. So it's not that strange that they've fallen out of use, although it is of course a shame that most of them are now deteriorating rapidly. Some Yakchals have been restored, as we can see in the cities of Kerman and Orumi. This is to show visitors of the city the uniqueness of these ice houses and the ingenuity of the Persian builders thousands of years ago. Once again, Iran showed us its traditional architecture, which originated from the harsh and severe climatic conditions in which the inhabitants survived for thousands of years. Their architectural style evolved due to climate being the most important factor for their evolutionary building styles and inventions. They were masters in keeping themselves cool in a place that could be considered uninhabitable without the knowledge they possessed. The best part is that everyone in the village was able to benefit from the ice houses. They would all come together to make and harvest the ice in the winter, that they then could all use in the summer. In our modern day and age, we can still use the invention of these ice houses and try to make them function once more with a modern twist. It would be a great way to be able to provide ice without the use of energy like we do in modern times. Scholars and researchers are actually trying to figure out a way to make this viable in the future. Before I end this video, I would like to note that the 3D renders that you've seen throughout this video were created by the creator behind the channel Found and Explained here on YouTube. He also made the 3D renders and the blueprint for the Windcatcher video that I think most of you have seen. I want to thank him for creating these renders for me to use, and if you'd like to see more of his work, which I highly recommend checking out, his channel is Found and Explained, and I've put a link in the description down below, and his latest video is in the end card. It's really kind of him to create these renders for me and for all of us to enjoy his work. And now we've come to the part that if you want to see my bloopers and you don't want to see me thanking people, then you can just skip ahead. And yeah, you've reached the end of this particular video. Sorry. If you enjoyed watching, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of these kind of videos, and click that bell icon if you want to be notified every single time I upload. If you haven't seen my previous videos yet, then click the card in the upper right corner, links in the description down below, or choose one of the videos in the end card. I'd also like to thank my patrons: Barry Scott, James, Floyd, Vaughn, Rox, Jamie Hernandez, Dan Fowler, Jeff Henderson, DJ, Klaus Jepson, civilpoliticsradio.com, Ricky, Prabhu DC, Ira Whiteside, Malleus Flavus, Tom Barkwell, Jeff Rooks, Ben Serinus, Andreas Angurakis, and NGC6543. I would also like to take a moment to thank my channel members: Nevers Guy, Malleus Flavus, Henry Hewitt, Stephen Jenny, John Jiff, Barry, Erik van Dorp, The Giant, Milo Watlin, Harry Hans, Greg George, Moter, Fulps, Tim Smith, Marwa Olbujen, Ira Whiteside, James Fisher, George Kovacs, and Ben Oppenheimer. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and let's get right into the bloopers. Bye! Someone asked me that I can do a cross-eye with one eye. I can do a cross-eye with one eye, but like with both eyes. So I can do that and that